Welcome back to Blaster Toad's silly tutorial, where we're making a game from scratch, from the seat of our pants, and calling it a tutorial, even though I only briefly kind of know what I am doing. So yay! Welcome back to my project, Nuts and Guts, where, yes, we are making a platforming game. That's the word I'm looking for, from scratch. And what we've done so far is we've got a player, where we got basic movement. We've got a switch which can open doors to see our big block disappear, and we've got a switch that can close doors. Okay, so if you haven't been around for that, please go watch episode 1 and 2. And now we are going to do new and exciting and more fun stuff. So, what we're going to start with is... What the focus of today's episode is going to be is, I didn't think about this. I'm just like, let's go make a game. We are going to work with widgets. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So, we are going to modify our door and our switches. Okay, we're going to make it so that a switch has the possibility of opening and closing a door. Okay, instead of just opening it. And then we're also going to show a prompt on the player's screen, asking them whether or not they want to open the door. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So, let's start with our player. We're going to go into our player character. And right now, when we hit our action key, so our input action, it just jumps. Well, that's not what an action key does. An action key is context sensitive and does a bunch of different stuff. It doesn't just jump. Jumping should be its last resort if it has nothing else cool to do. So we are going to set up some new variables. So what can we do? We can operate a switch or a button. So I'm just going to use switch button as one of our variables. Maybe we do a slide. Okay. And maybe we do, let's see, maybe we do something else. We got something. We can rename that later. Okay. So, we are going to right-click here and break link. We're going to get rid of our jump. And we are going to now, with each of these variables, and we want to make sure that they're the variable type Boolean. So if they are not, click these new variables we just made. So the switch or button variable, the slide, and the something or something else. And we want to just go over to variable type and make sure they are a Boolean. Okay? Please, if I'm going too quick in any of these tutorials, just let me know in the comments. Or if I've skipped a step and you're like, hey, you did this thing, but how'd you actually get there? Please, again, let me know in the, comments. The first 3 episodes have been done as kind of one sitting. I'll then wait for some responses after that. So let's get back to this. So just small disclaimer there. So since we're in these variables already and we just switch them over to Boolean, we also want to change their category. So we are going to call these action flags. Okay, and then we're going to click on each one, and now that we've typed that in, we can just hit the drop down and hit action flags. And this just keeps things clean. So if we're going through and we're playing with all our stuff later, we can be like, okay, go away action flags, come back, go away, come back. And yeah, makes things nice and tidy. So, now that we have those 3 variables, we're going to pull them out and we're going to go get, and get out here. That's pretty much what we're saying. And when the action key is pressed, we are going to do some checks again. So we already did this for the switch, but if you weren't here for this, we are going to do a branch, which is actually an if statement, if you're familiar with coding. And we're going to pull that out. We are going to plug that in, and we are going to straighten. So, when we press our action key, if there is a flag for pressing a button, it's going to do one thing. And then we're going to copy this. But if not, we're going to check something else. So we're just going to make some nice, almost relay logic here, if we think of old small electronics. Small electronics, what am I talking about? They also do relay logic in like roller coasters and stuff, so relay logic can be cool. That's something to check out, guys. Okay, so now we've got all of our checks. So, sorry, just making that pretty. Nice and easy to follow along with. So, we check. Should we do a switch action? Yeah or no? If no, should we do a slide? Should we do something else? And if we shouldn't do any of that, we're going to jump. Okay? So this should have changed nothing functionally. See, we still jump. And we can jump right off the edge. Cool. But it gives us the ability to build more. Next, we want to, I believe, build another variable. So we are going to do a variable target. Okay? And this we're going to reuse over and over again in case we have to target or select a different actor. So target, and then we are going to get change that to an actor and a reference to an actor. Okay? So that is that. So we're going to get our target. And you know, we are going to do a This is what we're going to do. We're going to make a new function. So there are a few things you can do in the event graph here. You can build things right out here. Okay? Which is all fine and dandy. But if I continue building this out how I want it to, it's going to be like, on the end of this, I'm also adding all of this, and then off the end of that, I'm adding some more, and it keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And then all of a sudden, to see my code, I have to zoom out like this, and it's like all the way over here. So, we also have the ability to do functions, okay? Which is like calling an event like this. Or we have the ability to make macros, which we can run as part of the code, okay? In this case, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a function, okay? And I'm going to call this my switch logic. Okay? And in switch logic, I'm going to get my target. And I am going to then cast to switch. Okay, so I'm getting my target, which I will set later. Right now it is nothing, so it'll do nothing. And we are going to... Actually, we're going to... No, this is what we're going to do. This should be fine. So you're going to get our target. We are going to cast to class switch. And if that worked, we are going to do something here. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our switch. So this is all nice and everything, but as soon as we walk into the area, it triggers the switch, which would be great for a pressure plate or something like that. But for a switch where it's like a big lever, maybe you should be able to choose whether or not you actually want to pull the switch. So, we are going to take all of this, and we're going to move it down here. Okay, and then we're going to right-click and break links from our on overlap. We're going to do a new custom event. So, right-click and then start typing in custom event. And we are going to do this as operate. Okay, so this operates the switch. I'm pretty sure I just spelled operate wrong. Somebody will chew me out for that later. Awesome. Okay, and another thing that we should really start doing is with the letter C on a keyboard, we can make comments. Let's move this over. And move this over some. So, selecting this, we're going to hit C. And then here we are going to type animate handle, because that's all that bit does. Then here we are going to do another, and we're going to find switched actors. Okay, and then we can make those boxes nice and clean. Then with this here, we are matching index. Okay. I need to move that. There we go. Matching the index. And then with this here, we are doing a open or close. Okay, so this way we can quickly just write in comments of what parts of our code do. Okay. And then with all this selected, we can do one big block, and then we can do operates switch. I'm thinking there's supposed to be two P's there, but I'm not sure, so I'm just going to leave it. Okay. So, great. We now do nothing when we walk into our switch. Good job, Toad. You just broke the game. But not really. That is as intended. Because what we're going to do now is, when we walk into that box, instead of flipping the switch right away, we are going to cast to player character. Okay? And the player character is the player character, the blueprint character class we made earlier. So if you've named your unit something different, please cast to your name. If you named your player Bob, great, cast to Bob. And then as player character, we are going to set switch or button to true. Okay? And then this is also going to be our first foray into widgets. So we are going to now create a widget. Okay, it needs an owning player, so we are going to get player controller. And as part of the first tutorial, so we're just going to minimize this again. As part of the first tutorial, we made all these folders and we populated it with some stuff. In our widgets folder, we put this dialog here. Okay? Which we had nothing for yet, but we made it. It's like, yay, good for us. Now we're actually going to use it. Okay? So we are going to create a dialog widget. Okay, so in our class, we just select which one we want. We could have done a game over, which we made, our main menu, whatever. Okay? As that, we now want to put that on the screen. So we want to then do things and stuff. And I want to add to viewport. That is the thing that I was looking for. Good. So, now when we walk over the area, we are going to tell our player to set its action flag, and then open up a dialog box. Okay? What we also have to do, this would have been really, really dumb if I would have forgot this, is as our player, we want to set target. And we are going to set that target to, and we're going to just right click and type in self. Okay? And that is going to get this switch, which is currently being triggered. Make everything nice and neat. And then make our comments. So, set flag and target for player. And then over here, we are, again, C, make dialog box. Perfect. So we can compile and save. Now we have to go back to our player. So now, when we hit our action key, if the switch or button condition is true, so if that flag has been turned on, we are going to add this, or run this function that we are building. Oh. We are going to run this switch switch logic. Okay? And we're going to run it on ourselves. That target is not this target variable that we made. Okay? So inside switch logic, so we're just going to go double click on that. We get our target, which has now been set by our switch. So right over here, we're setting that target. So in our player character, we are in our function getting the target, casting to the switch type, and then as the switch, we want to operate. We want to run the event that operates the switch. Okay? So we get the target and we tell that target to operate. So we get the switch that we've run into because we've been told what switch that is, and then we tell it to operate and do its regular stuff. So we're going to compile and save all this. And then one last thing before we can test this, we're going to go over to our dialog. Okay, so widgets and dialog. Going to double click on that. We are going to add some text to the screen. So from here, there's a bunch of elements we can add. We'll go more into depth on that later. Right now, we're just going to click text and drag it out. Okay. And then in that text, we've got content here. You found a rusty switch. Press the action key to activate. And there we go. Yay! Nice little button right here says size to content. And I think we can do a carriage return? No. How do we do a carriage return in this again? Damn it, I can't remember how to do that. Oh well. we'll make this more dynamic next time. Because the switch might not always be a rusty switch. It might be a pressure plate, or it might be something else, so. Now, when we come over here, you found a rusty switch. Press the action key to activate, and then if I hit space, it throws the switch. Okay, so now what we need to do is go back to our switch, and we want to copy this, paste it down here, and what we're going to do is when the character leaves the box, we're just going to move this down. So this is our on begin overlap. So when the character gets inside this yellow bounding box here, it's going to do a thing. We also have an on character or on component leave. And that's what we're going to, or on component end overlap. What we're going to do is we're going to set the boolean to false. Okay. And then we are going to make a new variable. No, we're not. We're just going to set that to false. Okay. The target's going to be overwritten all the time, so we can get rid of that. Okay, so set flag to false. And then we also want to remove widgets. Remove all widgets of class. That's what we want. And we're going to do that dialog. Okay. So when we walk into the box, we add a dialog. When we walk out of the box, we're going to remove all the dialogues on the screen. So if we walk in, if we walk out, and then we jump. But if we walk in, and we hit space, it does the switch, and as we walk out, it takes away the dialogue. And then we walk into the next one, brings up the dialogue, walk out, goes away, space lets me jump, but when I'm back in this area, space does that. So there we go. And again, as always, we'll do a quick recap of what we've done here. So, on our switch, on these pretty little switches here, we have, and we're just going to go through it the easy way, so we're going to go to hazards, switch. We moved our door opening script to its own custom event. Okay? We then, when the player walks into the zone for the switch, tell the player that they can activate a switch or button and give them a target to activate. Okay, telling them, hey, activate me. I'll activate myself from this switch. We then also add a dialog box to the screen to tell them that, hey, there's something you can do here. Then, if the player leaves the area, we tell them, nope, you can't activate a switch anymore. We're going to turn that flag off. And we remove all the dialogues from the screen. On our player, we changed our action input a little bit. So instead of just making it jump, we added a bunch of checks. So now we check if the button flag is up. We do this switch logic. Otherwise, we check if the slide flag is up, if the something flag is up, or if none of the flags are up, we jump. So our action key can do multiple things depending on different scenarios. Okay? Inside the switch logic, it's very simple. We say, okay, here's my target, which we set from the switch, telling it, hey, use me. In our player, we use the switch we were told to. We tell it to act as a switch, so cast to class cast to class switch. And then we tell it to operate, which is the function we have actually opening and closing the doors. Okay, so there that is. Hope you are enjoying this tutorial series so far. Again, if I'm going too quickly, or if there's something else you want to see, or a mechanic you think we need, please post it down in the comments. And then, yeah, we'll be continuing this tutorial later. Thanks again for watching.